Welcome back, everybody, to 31 1990s horror movies for Halloween, where I'm counting down my favorite horror movies from the 1990s. At number 29, we have this very well-done monster movie that, when I saw it, it legitimately creeped me out, and that is The Relic.
Johnson, Davis, that you?
I think museums are a great place for horror movies to take place in. I don't know of too many museum-based horror movies. I'm sure there are some that I just can't think of off the top of my head right now, but one of the few that I can think of is The Relic. The Relic, yes, it takes place at a museum, which, like I said, is a great setting for a horror movie because you have all these different exhibits. Like you can have, dinosaur bones, which can help create this atmosphere, ancient weapons lying around. Just the way that museums are set up, it surprises me that we don't get more horror movies taking place in museums. It's a perfect setting that would make for some good, creepy atmosphere. So the movie takes place in the Chicago Museum. They have a new exhibit ready to go, where they're showing this new relic in the museum. But at the same time, people are being killed off in the museum. You have a detective who wants to close down the museum and find out who the killer is. You have a young, I think, anthropologist, and she's trying to get a grant for her studies, but the movie goes into the Jaws effect. The people who run the museum don't want to close down the museum before this big gala that they're having, which is going to make a lot of money for the museum. Now, this is a monster movie, so you know what's going to happen. A monster is eventually going to show up and start ripping people apart. Now, The Relic is your basic monster movie, but it's a very, very good basic monster movie. It's a fantastic monster movie that... Another one that doesn't get talked about that much, because the monster in it is very good. It's called the Cathoga. My only problem with the monster is, like, when it comes to the design of a monster or a killer in a horror movie, I always think simpler is better. If you simplify it, then you make it scarier. Like, the simpler the design, the scarier it can be. The more complex you get with the design, it's no longer scary, it's cool. And I am okay with cool monsters, but in a horror movie, I would rather my monsters be scary than cool. But the Cathoga is a cool monster, and I'm not going to knock a movie for having a cool monster. It's just that, yes, I do prefer scary monsters, but still, The Relic has a very, very good monster. Now, they bring this creature to life with a combination of practical effects and CGI, and the CGI is pretty good. The practical effects scenes are very good as well, and what I love is how this creature kills people. It has a specific way it does things. It's yes, it is a monster, and it is sort of an animal or has animal characteristics. Those who have seen the movie, shut up, I'm not spoiling anything, but anyway, but the way it kills people, it doesn't just rip them apart like an animal. When it goes after people, it has a specific goal, and that it eats part of the human brain. I'm not going to say what in here, because again, I don't want to spoil things, but it eats a part of the human brain, so it rips people's heads off before digging in to their skulls and getting their brains. It's always interesting when a monster has a specific goal when it comes to its prey. And I'm not just talking about eating their prey. Like the xenomorphs from Alien. and aliens. They have a goal when they're going after their prey, not just food. They need bodies to impregnate so that they can continue the colony. So when they capture somebody, they're not just eating them or something like that. They're essentially using them as cocoons to hatch their young. Which is a terrifying thought. When a monster or an animal has a set goal with how it does things, that can make it pretty scary. It's like, okay, this animal has a desire, and that means it thinks. That means it has a plan for how it does things. They can still be mindless animals, but because they have a set goal, that can make them a little scarier. Now you have Ann Miller and Tom Sizemore in this movie. Tom Sizemore plays a detective who is very superstitious, and Ann Miller plays a scientist who believes in science and doesn't believe in superstition. But the movie plays with superstition and how superstition and reality can sort of co-mingle. It's all about how, in a way, it's about how legends begin. Because so many legends start with a grain of truth somewhere. There had to be something that jump-started that legend, that myth. And that's what the Relic is all about. That's what the Relic deals with. And I've always had a fascination with mythology and wondering how certain myths have started. Because again, the myth had to start somewhere. There had to be some catalyst for that myth. Especially because around the world, so many myths are similar. Like, every continent has their own version of Bigfoot. Every continent has their own lake monsters and stuff like that. All these things that are similar, it's like that had to have stemmed from somewhere. But anyway, yes, The Relic, it has a great setting in museums. We need more horror movies that take place in museums. If you know of some horror movies that take place in museums, leave them down below, because I'd like to see more of them. Well, I guess there's the Wax Museum, but I've never seen that one, or Waxworks, I'm sorry. Anyway, moving on from that, yes, House of Wax and Waxworks, but I've seen House of Wax, but not Waxworks. Anyway, I'm rambling. Yes, if you know of more horror movies that take place in museums, leave that down below, and check out The Relic for Halloween this year. It's a very good monster movie with a very good setting, very good atmosphere, so yeah. The Relic, if you're a monster movie fan, you should definitely check it out.